Rada Ryan. How are you? Hope you are okay. This is me addressing my younger self. Personally, I am picturing myself in that boring chemistry class that I didn't want to attend, but I had to because I had no other option, filled with a lot of emotions because I was constantly bullied and not in a position of being able to speak to my parents about it, but I overcame. In high school, we went through so much together. That's where we found our deep love for God. I used to distract myself with vlogs on YouTube and just giving myself words of affirmation that one day I am gonna make it. And we are here. We are sitting at 100,000 followers on TikTok, and I could not be more proud of you. I am so proud of how you handled things back then. I am super happy of how ambitious you are, and you still are. I am so proud that you never gave up. All the dreams that we wrote seemed like impossible milestones, but we are ticking them off the charts one by one.
Patricia.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm trying to think of the first time we met. Actually, to even take you back a lot further, I think the first time I heard of Patricia was Tusker Project Fame. Mm-hmm. And I remember this was back then when my mom had a restaurant, and every Sunday, I used to go and sit there in front of the TV, like when it ended up being there really late. End up sit there and I'd watch you singing, and it would be like, wow, years later, we'd be here, seated together, and I think it's really cool. But other than that, I actually can't recall, like, the first time we actually met physically.
Yeah, I don't think...
Was it the Korean fair?
Yes, when I was doing the... Did you come to my house or did you come to K1?
To K1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's when we first met.
Yeah.
Wow.
So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Very lovely to have you here. And when I was reading your letter, you started with, I can't believe that, I've not done this yet. Is it something that you've ever thought about doing before?
I think in the context of a lot of people in the last few years have been talking about reparenting their inner child. Mm-hmm. And so I've always thought about, like, if I was to speak to the inner child that I think needs sort of like a shift in how she sees herself. Mm-hmm. I've always just been thinking, what age would I be? But I'd never actually got into doing it.
Yeah.
So this felt like, okay, finally here we are.
Yeah.
Doing this letter was kind of like a prompt into starting that journey of identifying the inner child in me that kind of sort of experienced her first hurt or pain, and then take it from there. So
okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So before we get into it, maybe we can first start by reading the letter.
My very long letter. Wow, this is gonna be like an hour long. Dear Patricia, I can't believe I've never done this before, but I guess now is as good a time as ever. You're around 9 years old, probably jumping off a tree or climbing up to the roof of a building right now, playing with boys in the mud and ruining another one of those beautiful dresses that mom or dad bought you. It's wild that I barely recognize you, yet at the same time, I know you so well. You're so bright and fearless and brave, almost reckless even, with your sense of adventure and courage. At this point in time, your best friend, Faith, will leave the country with her family. It'll be an incredibly lonely time, and you will struggle to make other friends for a while. You'll be bullied and taunted for not having your BFF around. You'll struggle to fit in, because no one quite gets you like she did. And despite this, I want to acknowledge your incredible creativity and brilliance. Your mind is a treasure trove of ideas and possibilities. You've nurtured so many gifts and let them blossom into a unique career that excites your soul. You will learn that you are a multipotentialite, and that despite the advice to pick one thing and stick with it, there's too much inside of you to fit just one path. Your passion for everything that interests you is vast, and it's what has brought you here. It's something to be proud of. Speaking of pride, our family deserves a huge mention. They've been your unwavering pillars of support, haven't they? Their love, encouragement, craziness, and wonderful sense of humor have helped shape you into the person that you are today. As the years pass, I won't sugarcoat it. Things will get tough. Your confidence will be tested. Despite your accomplishments as a singer, an actress, a radio and TV presenter, a content creator, an improv comedian, an event curator, a host, and so much more, you will increasingly struggle with your confidence and self-belief, and you will burn out several times. It's because you'll be facing unknown battles with anxiety and or ADHD. You'll come to find that the things about you that you believe to be broken are really just as a result of your brain working differently from what is considered normal. The self-doubt and imposter syndrome will be debilitating, and you will struggle to remember your achievements, or to give yourself a pat on the back for how you show up for others and in the world. Your inner critic will get loud, and in a number of moments, you will believe that voice. You will question your worth and your value, not because they don't exist, but because it's a challenge for your mind. But it's not a disorder, Wangeshi. It's a divergence of being. And you will learn that there are many just like you who are figuring it out too, and doing amazing things, not despite it, but because of it. As you begin to understand this, know that you are not alone. You will find the support that you need, and you will overcome these hurdles. You'll find yourself in spaces and among people that once seemed beyond your wildest dreams. Your gifts and passion to use your voice will open doors that you never thought possible. Embrace these moments with humility and gratitude and the knowledge that you belong. The self-doubt will be hard to navigate, but you will, over and over, triumphantly. What a remarkable journey we're on, Wangeshi. I feel so much gratitude for the brave and fearless spirit that has always resided within you. You are such a spitfire, and despite the voices that tell you that your dreams are not worth chasing, you still have the audacity to dream anyway, to fight for those dreams, to create, and to figure things out on your own and with your community. And my goodness, have you done it brilliantly. Never forget that you are loved, cherished, and worthy of the love and success that comes your way. The world can't wait to witness your brilliance. So go forth with courage in your heart and the knowledge that the best is truly yet to come.
So, you take us back to 9-year-old Patricia, who was a lot of a tomboy, not a bit, a lot of a tomboy.
Yes.
And to me, it almost sounds, because you even say that right now, you know, you're happy to be a woman and you really enjoy, you know, the whole process of just womanhood. So to me, it sounds maybe like it was not wanting to be a boy, but more of seeing the things that boys were allowed to do at that point, and you weren't. Do you think so?
Yeah, and I think that didn't even come from my family. It came from now what I would encounter out in the world, you know. I was a tomboy. Like, honestly, I just used to think, man, if only I was born a boy, then nobody would be telling me, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Oh, you know, girls are supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And that story about peeing, I think I was maybe like 4 years old, and like we're just playing outside in the neighborhood, and then the boys like dug a hole, and then they all decided to pee in it. I was the only girl, so of course I'm like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But now, you know, there's no like just pulling out your junk.
Yeah.
And squatting. And then Alex ran to tell my mom, Mama, and I'm like, bro,
Alex is your brother?
No, some kid.
Even someone random who had no business.
Yeah, I feel like he set me up, and then he ran to tell my mom, and I'm like, weren't we just doing this together?
Yeah.
And then my mom was like, what are you doing? Like, and she wanted to like beat me. My shosho was home that day, so thankfully she protected me. But I just kept thinking, like, dude, if only I was a boy,
yeah,
I wouldn't have to run home to use the bathroom. I wouldn't have to, you know, matter if you're wearing a dress, you don't have to.
Yeah. Do you know where Aleki is right now?
Nope.
Aleki, if you're watching this,
But
shout
I
out.
wish him well. I hope wherever he is. He's those guys for writing noisemakers.
Yeah.
No, I hope he's fine wherever he is.
You need to reach out and apologize to 9-year-old Patricia. Yeah. I don't know. When I think of when I was a child, I think I wasn't a tomboy, but I was very, this is what the boys are doing. Ata mimi nataka kufanya. And I mean, I guess thankfully, just like you, I don't think I was raised in a household where they were like, this is for girls, this is for boys. It was just, whatever comes.
Yeah.
And as an adult right now, I can recognize how difficult it is to do things that are outside of the norm. So I can't imagine how it is like, for a 9-year-old to be against the grain all the time.
Yeah, I think at the time it didn't really affect me so much because my folks were also different, like people would share their experiences about, my dad and my mom, they're just so, but your folks are so cool.
Yeah.
Like my mom would be in biker shorts or like a short skirt, my dad, like they were just a lot younger also than my schoolmates' parents, so I think that just made them seem very liberal.
Yeah.
But I remember one time even going to play outside, and of course I'm going to play outside, I'm a tomboy, I'm either riding a bike or like just, so I'm dressing for convenience.
Yeah.
Never at once thinking anything sexual about how I'm dressing. And I remember one day I was going out to play and I was wearing these shorts, which I think even my mom is the one who gave me. She kept some shorts for herself and she was like, hey, when I have a daughter, I'll give her these shorts.
Yeah.
They were like hot pants and a t-shirt. I'm going to play. But before I leave, the nanny or the house girl was like, hey, Wangishi, you're going to cause your brothers to stumble. Why are you wearing such things? Mimi at the time, I'm just like, not understanding. Like, I'm going to make my brothers stumble. Like, what do Jomo and CJ have to do? How are they going to fall? Like, I'm just thinking, my brothers, how are they going to fall because I'm wearing shorts? And I think she just told me, you shouldn't wear such things. So I went and I changed and I put on bigger shorts. But I felt so self-conscious that it took me a while to even go outside. And when my mom came home that evening, I was just like, hey, Mom, I don't remember her name, but I just said, Auntie told me that I shouldn't wear such things because I'll make my brothers fall. And my mom was like, huh? She said, what? And she had a conversation with her and told her, you don't get to tell my kids what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
I'm the one who buys their clothes. So it did feel like I'm always going to have my parents back, but the world is just like, kumbe, there are rules that I don't know about. Yeah.
And then one thing leads to another, or some time goes by, and your best friend, the one person who was, really understanding you, moves to a different country. The family relocates. And it sounds like all this really affected you even up until, later on when you were an adult, when it came to making friends, because afterwards you got bullied. Why did that one instance really affect you that much?
I think, and it's something I only realized maybe a couple of years ago, like just how deeply it affected me. My friend's Faith, like we were joined at the hip, and we were just, like we were always together. And when her family had to move to SA, I guess that's when it became clear to me afterwards that, kumbe, like our classmates had always felt like these two are so inseparable, like, it's just them against the world. And now that she wasn't there, they were like, so now where's your friend? You guys used to feel like, you're cooler than everyone. Which really, it just seemed like we'd just get lost in our own world. And we'd hang out even outside of school, So we had like our own jokes and inside things. Like we were just so together. And afterwards, that taunting was just like, wait, but I've never done anything to you guys, So guys would isolate me. They would plan things on their own. Oh, Susie's having a party at her house. I'm not invited. That kind of stuff. So I remember one time we went for a holiday camp to Naivasha. This camping trips, and while we were there, I made friends with these 2 other girls. So at that camp, it wasn't class 5, class 7. It was just all of us kids in this club, right? And so when I came back to school and we opened school, I was just like, oh, at least I have, at least 2 people who are cool with me. And then at break time, I would go to their class to hang out with them. So we were in class 5, they're in class 7. I was 9, so I think they were actually a lot older. Yeah. Because I was maybe 2 years younger than everybody in my class, and then they were in class 7, so maybe there was like 3 or 4 years difference. Yeah. And I remember maybe after a couple of weeks, because every day break time, I carry my break with me and I share with them. And they sat me down and they're like, hey Patricia, we can't hang out with you anymore. It doesn't look cool for us to be hanging out with like a younger kid, because it looks like we're taking advantage of you. And I'm like, but you're not. Yeah. And we know that, like, see us, we're cool. Why does it matter what anyone thinks? And they're like, yeah, but it's just not a good look, so we can't hang out anymore. And I was just like, there was nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. Yeah. It just felt like something as, to me at the time, like what other people think, which is not true, is what would make you make such a decision. And so I was just like, maybe there's something wrong with me that I'm not seeing. And Faith was the only one that got it. And now, if I don't have somebody like Faith in my life, or if she's like a rare breed, then it just means that I might have to figure out what is wrong and then not do that, so that I can be like accepted. Yeah, and try to fit in as well. I think, last season, the theme was therapy. I think everyone who came in was talking about therapy. And this time round, I think this is the 4th episode. And what like cuts across is how mean children are. So I think from this season, parents need to teach their children how to be just kinder to other people, because I mean, for one, you never know what the other person is going through at home. And then even just something as minor as, that, being like, oh, now your friend is gone, so now who do you have? So now you have this innocent child who's done nothing, who now feels alone in the world. It's like grown-up problem. And I don't know if people caught it, but in your letter, you did mention all these hats that you wear, and you refer to yourself as a multipotentialite. What is a multipotentialite? How did you come across the term and decide, you know what, this is fitting, this is what I am? So the phrase, I think I came across the phrase, again, maybe a couple of years ago. There's a lady who did a TED Talk. I don't remember her name. It might be like Emily Wapnick, or I hope so. But she's the first person I heard mention the term multipotentialite. So, before it was like either you're a polymath or a multi-hyphenate, but when she said it, it kind of made sense, because I've always believed that it's not that I've reached these are the things that I am interested in and that I do, but that there's always potential for me to get into another thing as I grow and evolve. So there's always, like, I just keep adding things, because even when I started my career, it was like, oh, I'm Patricia, I'm a singer. Patricia, I'm an actress. I'm Patricia, I'm a radio presenter. Patricia, so they just kept adding, and I was like, oh, these are not things that I used to say, aside from being a singer and actress, all these other things were not things I used to say as a child, like, when I grow up I want to be this. It's just things that I have kept discovered along my journey, and I even used to say, I might get into farming tomorrow and just like love it so much, and that'll be another thing that I add, and who knows, like, they just keep piling. So that's the multipotentialite, where you kind of like are stimulated and excited by multiple things, and then there's discovery in others, there's possibilities to find other things, and so I really loved that phrase, and that's why you adopted it. So you're an actor, a singer, an improv comedian, a content creator. Am I leaving anything out? Is there anything else I've left out? So there's like event curator as well, because I was I figured that I learned that I was really good at like putting events together that like tap into people's different interests and just like a very safe space.
Yeah.
There's like TV, radio and TV presenter, film and TV actress, and theater as well, because theater was actually, musical theater was one of the first like facets of the creative industry that I entered. Music supervisor, which in the world of film and TV, it's sort of like figuring out what music goes into like a film or a TV show. And currently, at the moment, I'm music supervisor for a podcast. It's an American podcast, but the team is kind of like all over. So yeah, I try and also like throw in some Kenyan songs, some Kenyan artists in there. But it's an African American podcast on African American history that I really love, and it blew my mind like who the executive producer is. I'll share that later. But like, but yeah, so music supervisor and then event host and MC. I think for now, there. Sometimes I remember later, oh, I forgot to say this, but yeah,
it's like, still there. And I have to mention that you're actually really good at the like music supervision, because I can even tell from like your content, it always has really unique, you know, music and sounds na zinaendanganishana na video zina match. So yeah, you're really good at that. So how did it start? What came first? And how did it sort of snowball into everything else?
I think I've always loved music, and music came first. There was this group of kids that I listened to. My mom bought me the tapes when I was a kid after my dog died. So we passed by TuneIn and bought All God's Children. They're called All God's Children.
Yeah.
And their age range was like from 5 to 17 or 16. And there were kids in the US from like underprivileged backgrounds. And I heard them sing and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is going on? And I was just like, if those kids can be on a stage and sing so beautifully, Sembuse Mimi?
Yeah.
And so, you know, like my interest in singing sort of grew from there, because I'd sing in school. I was always excited to like teach, because we used to have this thing of, when you have parade in school, a class can also put a request to perform. So we'd be really excited, like in your class, you find a song that you like, you go teach your class, and then you sing it for the school. So it was always so cool. And then now when I discovered and got into this music, All God's Children, a cappella children, I'd always have these unique songs that I'm taking back to our class to present to the school.
Yeah.
And then I really enjoyed music. I enjoyed the music theory. So in school, like getting those I don't know if you guys did that.
Ama kama tulifanya hata siwezi kumbuka.
Sisi 844 yetu ilikuwa unafanya all the subjects, all of them, from science, woodworking,
this was
arts
in
and crafts.
Primary.
Yeah. So I just knew like music was something that came easier to me. Like I really enjoyed it. And then I go to high school, and of course I want to do music, because now, you know, I've heard of Eric Wainaina. He went to Berklee School of Music. If I want to go to Berklee School of Music, you know, like that's my goal. Only for the deputy head teacher in my high school, she convinced my mom that I shouldn't do music because I was good in the sciences. And because, you know, that thing at the time they used to fill a quota, like a certain number of students have to do physics. So the ones who performed well from, you take physics, chemistry, biology, and that cluster doesn't go with music or
art.
Yeah. So my mom, of course, up until this point, I was just like, even when my mom would come to school and tetea me, only for her to come out of the meeting with Mrs. Mburu, and she's like, I think she's right. I think we should do this. And now I get that, you know, it's at the time the arts were not seen as a career choice to follow here in this part of the world. Like there was no guaranteed success. Not like how we would see the Mariah Careys and the Brandies, and you know, you see the musicians and they're like living successfully, so you think that's true for everybody. And at the time I was just like, I have this talent for a reason. So when my mom said that and I wasn't then allowed to do music, I was just like, so maybe I'm not even that talented. Like
You start doubting.
Yeah, I was like, maybe maybe my singing was not that great.
Mm-hmm.
But then because I didn't have a passion for anything else, then I was just like, so what's the point? And then I was also taking technical drawing
Mm-hmm.
as a subject because I really enjoyed it, the drawing and whatnot. Then the teacher who was teaching us in our school said he didn't feel like teaching girls anymore. It's more like a boys subject because he also used to teach the guys at Sunshine.
What?
So the subject, he dropped it, so there was no technical drawing
Yeah.
anymore. So I had to choose between home science and agriculture. And I was like, if anybody knows how averse I am to the kitchen, to cooking, stewing, I was like, I guess agriculture is it.
Yeah.
Because now that's the only one that also goes with the sciences. And my interest in, because I used to be such a good student, I was index 3, and then I was either number 1, number 2, number 3, number 1, number 2, number 3 in primary school.
Yeah.
High school, I just kind of like,
Yeah.
I was like, so what's the point?
You're not enjoying any of it anymore.
Mm.
Do you have any other multipotentialites that you look up to?
That is so interesting. I'm pretty sure I do, but right now my mind is drawing.
It's gone blank, yeah.
But I do know that there's certain people I've looked to, and I'm like, yeah, if they can,
You can as well.
yeah, like, thank you for not making. I love that they were outwardly like just winning, and I'm like, I've been told all the time, oh, jack of all trades but master of none.
Yeah.
And then you know there's that phrase Isha's there, but there's like more.
Yeah.
So I always used to feel like it's okay, I can be the jack of all trades if they can be the jack of all trades. I'm sure I'll remember, it'll come to me. But yeah,
As you go on.
they're there.
Okay. And how do you plan your days? Or even weeks and months? Because I mean, you have all this, hats that you're wearing.
Yeah.
So how do you plan to make sure that nothing is falling through the cracks?
Well, I have to say that this, as much as there's all these different things that sort of like and all these facets to who I am, they're not always happening concurrently. So there's no like balancing, okay, so all these 7, 8 things are happening at the same time, and like balance the time, It's, when there's an acting project, I'll work on that, whether it's 2-3 months, and then maybe, like, let me speak for now, for instance, there's a TV show that I'm working on, but also the podcast that I'm working on, and then content, and then sometimes a project will come and it's maybe a week long, other times it's a year long, and then the YouTube will come back when it comes back, then there'll be that, but then the podcast will not be going, or the TV show will be done. So it's like they happen when they happen.
Seasons of everything.
Exactly, seasons of, so it's not necessarily finding a balance, but just harmony. Yeah, like it's like a harmonious melody of life. But I do still feel like I need to learn also just how not to take too much on at the same time, because sometimes I find myself just like burnt out because of not knowing what to say.
Yeah. And you mentioned also your confidence, like lack of self-confidence kidogo, and even just getting fatigued through everything, which later on you accounted to having ADHD and anxiety. So how did you get diagnosed with this, and how did it affect you?
So I think at some point in my adulthood, I started to suspect that, okay, as much as subconsciously I know something is not right, there's something wrong with me, but then I was just like, there's this other side of things where these struggles, surely, it's not just me, it's not my personality. And I remember talking to a friend about it, and she was like, maybe you should talk to someone. And at that time, I thought it was ADHD, but only because of my challenges in kind of like focusing or getting things done, or like struggling with multitasking, like all these things happening at the same time and getting distracted. I thought that was all ADHD had to do with. So I just suspected, oh, maybe I have ADHD, but also a lot of what I knew is what we got from the media, you know, what you see in the movies, or what is represented, like, you know, little kids just running, little boys actually, just running around, hyper, all over the place, loud, super distracted. So I attributed some of the traits that I was struggling with to that. But then, and at the time also it was manageable. It's like, but I'm surviving, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So I'm doing all these things, so I'm cool. It can't be that bad. Then the pandemic happened. 2020 was, you know, the year that it was. There was a lot of content creation work that came, and then there was also like a business venture at the time as well. And, you know, it was, things were still moving, but I just thought it's part of my life to be tired all the time.
Yeah.
But then as the year progressed, towards the end of the year, I was just like, I don't know what it means to turn off. Like when people talk about vacations, even when I'm on vacation, it's still working, or my brain is still like racing. And then at the end of the year, we lost a family member. That was in December, and then like exactly a month later, another family member passed away. And I don't know that I've ever mourned that, and it's still something that like I'm trying to work through, but I do know that it really affected me deeply. And then, so the beginning of 2021, you know, comes with like new things like the YouTube thing, the Black Voices Fund class, and then TV show, this business venture, just multiple things. And for the next 3 months, while having dealt with the loss in my family and not dealing with that really, and then just working on these things, like it felt like I was running myself to the ground. Yeah, so I think in March of that year, I burnt out, like I crashed, like I just couldn't move forward. I was debilitated, and that's when I felt like it was time to seek professional help. And I reached out to a friend of mine who used to speak about his challenges on Twitter quite openly, and he would share a lot of stuff that also gave me a lot of insight into what I was struggling with. And so he found, like, he doesn't live here, but he helped me with some recommendations of a doctor here. And the first doctor that I went to see, I think in the first 10 minutes, they were like, oh yeah, textbook, ADHD. And I was just like, oh wow. And so I started my journey into sort of like managing or figuring out what this meant.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird, because initially I felt like a very deep sadness of like, wait, so this, you're saying that this is textbook, it's something that I've probably struggled with my entire life.
Yeah, without knowing.
My struggles, because, and this is now something I'm figuring out for myself, is that because we use the same language in describing things, oh, you know, I struggle with procrastination, and we can say, yeah, me too. But what I struggle with, the procrastination doesn't look like yours, right? So mine is like almost like a paralysis, and it's not procrastination on things that I don't want to do, but it's genuinely things that I want to do, but I can't find any ounce of strength or willpower to do.
Yeah.
But because we're using the same language, so
you're like,
say, yeah,
even
me, I deal with procrastination, but have you tried this? Me, I just do this, and da, 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 da. So can you imagine an entire lifetime of everybody's figured out how to deal with these things that we all deal with, except me.
Yeah.
So I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
It's me. So here's this doctor telling me, no, actually, it's a legitimate struggle, and this is how it affects your life. And I just felt a deep sadness of, so you mean if I'd have known this earlier, maybe I wouldn't have dealt with all the guilt and shame of thinking this is, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
And then anger. I was just like, man, what the hell? It's so unfair. And then I started like the treatment, like started taking medication just to sort of like figure out what would help. And then I went back after 2 weeks, and we talked through some things that I had shared in the first session. And then she then was like, okay, so I'm also confirming that, you know, you're struggling with anxiety. And because of those two things, every time you've said you're experiencing burnout, it was actually depression. And this is as a result of the struggles that you have with this. So for a lot of people, they may be moving through life thinking that depression is the thing that they struggle with, but nobody has ever examined like, oh wait, but how do you manage life and realize that it could be that you're struggling with, your brain is a bit different, but because the world works in a very 9 to 5, productivity is, our brains kind of just like, it's like a different operating system. So we then started treatment for the depression that I guess I was dealing with at the time. And thankfully that once you start to mitigate treat this anxiety and ADHD, then the depression kind of lifts. So it was I learned quite a lot. And then because of my nature, I research a lot. So it's like, okay, so now I have this diagnosis. Let me learn all I can about it. And the things that I've been learning since then, even now I'm still learning new things, because when it comes to the world of mental health and wellness, the research continues. So what was true maybe 10, even 5 years ago, it's constantly shifting. And so I'm still learning new things about how to manage. There's the stigma around medication. Connie, do you have to take pills? Maybe you can try. Have you tried? And I think I had that internalized in me as well, because even with the current doctor that I have right now, I love that he kind of like takes me very pole. So when I'm telling him, hey, can we reduce the dose? I think maybe I'm ready to reduce, because I don't want to be dependent. He's like, you know, the research that you're reading is very America-based or this, and the dosages there are so high. So let's just concentrate on helping you manage your day-to-day, but don't carry the stigma of what's it called, dependency. And one of the ways I speak to myself about it is, you know, you wouldn't tell somebody with asthma, you know, hey,
stop using your
inhaler. You're not going to be dependent on your inhaler. Umetumia
sana leo.
Or like diabetes. Hey, do you really need like insulin? Have you tried? And sure, there's like different modalities to treat whatever it is that you are struggling with, but I think that helped me to just like take it easy. And also know that I can also be in charge of my own care. So my doctor really listens to me, and when I say I think I want to take a break from this and just easy, and then I'm always just researching like what food can I take to also help with this, what supplements can I take to help with this, but really just I think I've come to terms with it now. The anger and the sadness kind of like dissipated, and now it's just taking things a day at a time.
What sort of systems would you say that you've put in place to help you manage, you know, with the anxiety and the ADHD?
Well, let me first like say I haven't figured it out yet. It's still like it's an ever evolving thing. But for me, sleep is one of the things I've come to realize. I have to be very precious about my sleep. So anything that comes in the way of good sleep, I kind of just like try and eliminate, right? So currently what that looks like is trying to get into bed at the same time every day, not carrying work into bed. I'm very good at sitting with my gadgets and just saying, okay, but because I enjoy work, it's okay to do it even at midnight, but to set boundaries on like when I work so that my brain can start to like shut down. At the moment, I'm on a break from alcohol. Just on a break, just to kind of like give myself some time to see how optimized I can be if I take out some things that come in the way of things. I've got some supplements that I've found that are really helpful in just relaxing the body. I've found that I like sounds playing in the background. They help to push my racing thoughts to the back. So whether it's a podcast or sleep stories or just soothing droning sounds, they put me to sleep. Another thing I recently tried out, because I try. Some people are talking about like taping your mouth when you sleep so that your mouth is closed throughout the night. Because apparently if you breathe through your nose and your mouth simultaneously, you're not really getting the benefits of the oxygen that you're inhaling, especially at night.
So you like masking tape?
No. Look, at the time I was just like open to try, right? I'm open to try. And I do a lot of research. So of course I found the people who are just like, also no. But there's people who said, oh, it's really shifted things for me. So I was like, now am I going to start looking for mouth tape for the night? And I found I have boob tape in the house. So I was like, since it's made for skin, let me try. The first night I taped my mouth like I'm being kidnapped. But I did sleep through the night deeply, and I woke up for the first time in a very long time with a clear head. I was like, wow. And so now I've kind of like figured it out. I just cut it like a small strip and just put it like across. It's not to like force your mouth shut, but just to keep your mouth closed throughout the night.
Hey, the way I am, I think I'd wake up one night panicking, like,
that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I'd wake up feeling like I'm being suffocated. But what I've found is that it's, because before I always also used to feel like one nostril is always blocked, or like if I can't breathe clearly through both of them. And I found that this practice has sort of like helped to clear that. I've read for some people it's even changed the shape of their face, and I'm just like, wow. But for me, I feel a benefit. It's not something that I'm telling guys, oh my God, go do this. For me,
you've felt it.
I'm feeling a benefit. I do sleep I fall asleep faster. I sleep through the night. Because I also used to struggle with, sometimes I wake up at like 4 or 5, then I can't go back to sleep. So I still wake up tired. Now I sleep through the night, and when I wake up, it's like, I'm still snoozing, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And it's more restful. Because there was a time I was really struggling. I'm sleeping 7-8 hours a night. I wake up in the morning.
You're tired.
I'm feeling like, Kwani, am I a night runner? And I don't know. So it's restful sleep. So sleep for me is a big thing at the moment. And then just an awareness of my emotions, because when it comes to ADHD, it's not just about attention. And it's not a deficit of attention, but rather an excess of attention and not knowing where to direct it. So that's why a lot of people struggle with, I'm doing this, but then this and this, and feeling like everything is urgent at the same time. Your executive function is impaired, so a lot of people struggle with executive dysfunction, which is just not being able to plan and prioritize your day and to like finish tasks, or even to start tasks. Some people have this paralysis in the morning where you wake up but you feel like you have no energy, not only to get out of bed, but even to start thinking about the day. There's emotional dysregulation that comes with ADHD. So for a lot of people also, you'll find somebody, it's like, why are you so mad? Or why are you so sad? Or why has that bugged you so much? And for a lot of people, it's like, it's something so small, but just that regulation of your emotions. There's this thing called rejection sensitive dysphoria, where a lot of people struggle with perceived rejection. And I learned that what I think rejection feels like, which for me can also be physical pain, or physical discomfort. For other people, because it's just mental, it's like, oh man, they don't want me, or that job. Now, for a lot of people who struggle with neurodivergence or neurospicy brains, as people like to call them, it's also just anything can be perceived as rejection. And I see how that then impacted my self-confidence, because I've done a campaign well, it went so great. But because I'm scared of like, if I reach out to work with them again, they may say no. So if they don't come back to say it was great, we want to work together again,
you're like, it's like failed.
And yes, I just think they must have thought it was a bad job. So I must just not be who I must not. It just must not be that great, you know.
Yeah.
So coming to a realization that there's nothing in my life that I've ever done that I've just been like, that was so dope, you know, or like to look back and be like, that was amazing. Not to take away from the things that I've enjoyed doing. Like I've enjoyed, in the midst of doing them, I'm having the best time. But again, I think I spoke about it, like depending on others for my sense of self, just that hypervigilance of, okay, are they happy? Okay, maybe it was okay. Are they mad? Oh, okay, I must have made them mad and I must have upset them because of this, or they've done this with everybody but me, I must. So now stopping and just being like, no, actually, I get to decide for myself what I think of myself. And I'm not responsible for other people's emotions. So a lot of people with ADHD, autism, or ASD as it's called nowadays, a lot of people who struggle with these neurodivergences really struggle with a sense of self and identity, and that affects them in that way. So it's just an awareness.
Yeah. And you sound like you're also really grateful when it comes to family, and they're like really an integral part of who you are. Like even for the improv comedy, you're like, you know what, hii humor imetoka home. Yeah, so tell us a bit about like your family and how the relationship is back at home.
My family are just so cool. And I've always thought this from when I was a kid. Like I was just so happy to have the parents that I did and do. And a big part of that is, you know, they weren't like the normal kind of parents, and that extends into my extended family as well. So they're very supportive. My mom, any show I've ever put up, whether it's my own, like Life in the Single Lane, or BYSS, because you said so, the improv comedy thing that I do with my friends, my mom will never accept a complimentary. Like, she'll always be the first person to buy a ticket. Like when we go to look at the stats, her name is the first one. Then Akina, my aunt, Akina Shish, like the family is just like super supportive. And they also have their own brand of humor. Let me speak to the ones on my mom's side. They're just funny, inappropriate, hilarious, and it just feels like they're so cool. Yeah, they're so cool. And even on my dad's side of the family as well, because I think I was much closer with my dad's side of the family growing up, and even then, like, they're just so cool. My aunt, my dad's sister, like I used to spend so much time with her. My grandparents, I just thought everybody was cool. So I feel like I've grown up with family that kind of allowed, in fact, encouraged. It's like it was normal to not be normal in my family. Yeah. And that's why I think for me, I'd always felt like as long as I have my one friend, or as long as my folks are behind me, it doesn't matter what the world says. Me, I'm good. Until adulting now. Yeah. Spend more time out in the world, so the world has a bigger effect on me.
And you and your mom really do look like twins. You know that a lot. You guys look like literal sisters. Actually, when sisters, twins. That one is twins. You guys look a lot alike.
We're very similar. Yeah. From a young age. Even like, I remember her mom's boss would call home. If I pick up, sometimes he would just start talking, thinking it's her. Yeah. So we also sound very similar.
Okay. And you, like you mentioned, you had your best friend. You know, that one person who really had your back, and then also your family as well. Thinking back at it, can you remember anyone else who you leaned on for support? And now that you're older, what are some things that you basically look at? You know, when you meet someone and you're like, you know what, I like you, maybe I should hold on to this one a bit longer.
I think right now, because it also feels like a transition time in my life, because again, especially when it comes to mental wellness, these discoveries that you make all the time. You asked about tools. Tools is I'm also always reading and learning. And with that just means new discoveries every day and new perspective shifts. So I think into adulthood, I started to make some core friends, and think also as you grow up, and especially as a woman, because also how these mental health challenges, how they show up in boys and girls is very different. So for a lot of women, they end up getting their diagnosis of something a lot later in life because it was missed as a child, because they're looking for the symptoms that are in boys, they're not looking the same in girls. So I think as I was getting older and older, the struggles just started to like add up. And I think I really struggled with, like, I'm a very sociable person, but recognizing now also, I'll go out, but I go by myself so that I can live when I want. So I had like very few key people in my life, but even growing older, there were challenges in those friendships that I recognize now as, oh, this is how this showed up, this is how anxiety showed up. And it made it very difficult to maintain some friendships. So I would say the key people, I don't know, like, I can count on my hand, like, my key friends. And right now, you know, still the same, like a very core support system. And these have been sustained for maybe the last 5-10 years, let's say 10. But even then, these new realizations is like, okay, the friendship is going to have to like shift a little bit because this is coming forth, and as I deal with it, a shift. So I'm still in a space where I do struggle making new friendships. I'm very guarded. I feel confident in the ones that I have, and I'm really trying to fight for them. Like those are the core ones. But I'm also recognizing and aware in myself that there's people who I meet and they want to be my friend, and I'm like, yeah, you're cool, but I see myself putting up my walls. And so I'm working on those things now, just so that I can lean into these beautiful friendships, because they can be beautiful. But I'm glad that, okay, now I'm realizing why I've been so guarded. And
And you mentioned having a difficult time, you know, recognizing your achievements. So now that you're older, what are some of the things that, you know, you can give yourself a pat in the back and be like, you did that? What are you most proud of?
Yeah, I'm practicing how to
give yourself your flowers.
Yes. I think, well, it's rooted in like this really deep love I have for the Kenyan arts. I've always thought Kenyan artists are dope. Like Kenyan music is amazing, Kenyan films, Kenyan TV, literature, fashion, you know. So I think the things that were born out of that, like the radio show Afro Central, where so many artists who are now like who are now just like thriving. I'm so glad like I got to be the first person to play them on radio, or to put people on to like check these guys out, or check these guys out. So that radio show, I'm super proud of that. I'm proud of this show that I did called Life in the Single Lane. In fact, next month it's going to be 10 years since I did the first one, and it was kind of like an experiment, and it kind of mixed the things that I love, which is singing, acting, and sort of like an improv comedy call and response to the audience. That was something else, and every time I've done it, it's sold out. The last time I did it was 2019, just before the pandemic in November, sold out. And people still are like, oh, when is it coming back? And I loved how people would see themselves in like the things I was representing on stage. So I'm super proud of that. Because, that was cool. I'm proud of Speaker Box, which was a really, really dope weekly event, also born out of this love for Kenyan musicians. And sort of, I'd get people asking, okay, these are such dope artists you play on your show, but where can we watch them? Like, there's no shows where they are. So Speaker Box was born out of that. Here, come watch them, interact with them. And then it also evolved into not just musicians, but a speaker session with innovators in the creative arts. So speaking to people like Akina Mutua, Mudhoni DQ, people just doing amazing things in Kenya. People would have a chat. So I think I'm just so proud of what Speaker Box was in terms of curating a space for Kenyan dopeness. I'm proud of my Instagram and YouTube. I think I didn't see it then, like, just, I loved it and I put so much passion into it, and I think I created dope stuff there. So I think I'm really proud of it, and I think working through the self-doubt to come back and continue.
Yeah.
So the things I've created, the work I've done, this podcast I'm working on, the fact that people come to my page to discover Kenyan brands.
Yeah.
Like I'm proud of myself for that. Just creating one part of storytelling that allows people to see just how dope we are.
And we here at the podcast would also like to say that we are proud of you. Before you came in, I discovered that our little machine there has like an applause button. So this would have been the right time to use it, guys. They were like, no, you can't use it.
Did you recognize what I'm wearing on my head? This is Bosch drip.
Yeah, I did. Like the minute you entered, and then I was like, nikitenge, so maybe nikitenge a place and then I'll be here. But even when I was picking my outfit for today, I knew that you like dressing in like African prints. So I was like, I have to also put on something that never match kidogo.
I'm so glad. I'm so intentional. Everything is Kenyan. Shoes, bag, like everything. Even the book I brought.
What is currently bringing you joy? What are you currently dreaming of?
I think the thing that's bringing me joy right now is it feels like for me my world has opened up again, because I kind of had a breakthrough transformation a couple of weeks ago, just around all the stories that I've told and created throughout my life about myself and who I am, and I had a breakthrough about it and realized, okay, cool, so it's great that I knew all this stuff, I researched, but what do I do with it now? I can actually just let it go and create a new version of myself where I rely on myself for my own validation. And so that's what's bringing me joy, like every day, seeing myself handle challenges or situations in a different way than I would have, say, even 2 weeks ago. And so what that has done is that it's just infused a new joy and excitement into everything I want to do, whether it's content, whether it's my work in TV, or just showing up in the world. That's what's bringing me joy. So now when I'm working, I'm just like excited. When I'm planning things, I'm just excited. So everything feels joyous, but there's still the underside of like, oh, so in this is the part I have to mourn. This version of myself that has done well to get me to where I am, but I need to shed that now to move further. So it's joyous, but also bittersweet, but it's exciting.
We had from, or rather you wrote to 9-year-old Patricia, and we normally do a sort of time capsule situation where now you get to write to 47-year-old Patricia, and not really write, rather leave her a message. So you can take a couple of seconds, think about what you'd like to tell 47-year-old Patricia.
47?
Yes.
That's just over 9 years from now.
And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and leave her a message.
Hi, 47-year-old Patricia Wangeshi Kihoro, and who knows, maybe we have a different surname. I'm pretty sure like where you're looking back at where I am now and just nodding your head and laughing at how much we've gone through, and like how I'm thinking this space is like, oh my God. So I'm sure you're just looking back and laughing and just seeing like, don't worry, you'll get through this. So I just want to say to you, thank you for pushing through this season, because I know that we do. And thank you for doing the work to allow us to show up in the world in our most authentic self, because we've been surviving, but now we get to like live and thrive. So thank you for doing the work. Thank you for still dreaming, still being curious, for still being optimistic, and still knowing that joy is available to us. and thank you for believing that we deserve to be happy. So it's just a thank you, and I hope, I don't know if we'll ever get to meet. Maybe when we invent time travel, we'll meet, but I'm just so excited to discover what it is that you're doing now at 47. Yeah. I love you.
You're probably, is she the first female to end her letter to herself, rather her message to herself with I love you?
I love you. Yeah, I think most guys.
Yeah.
Most guys would do it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that to Georgie. You know, I found that very interesting. But it's true. Like, how often do you say you love? Like,
Me?
I love. Yeah, and not in the mirror, not the affirmations and everything, but like.
I actually don't think I have ever
Really?
said I love me.
Wow.
That is, I love me. I'm saying it now.
Yeah, and we love you.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
like for real.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
To the
having
episode.
me.
It was a really, really nice episode. Learned a lot about you as well, and I can't wait to see, your name on many more things that you
Asante.
discover through the years. And
Asante.
for you guys at home, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Me, I'm not ready to say bye yet. I have a message for you.
Tell me.
I think like this is such a deeply healing thing. Like I've just been like watching different episodes. I saw Ayoma like getting you in tears, but it's true. And I was just when she was saying that, I was like, yeah, it's so true. Like this is such a beautiful. It's not just a podcast. It's not just another idea that like it's a cool idea. Like, but it's a deeply healing avenue for people, and I just want to say like thanks for believing in yourself. Thanks for being confident and sort of also showing us, even though there's a 10-year difference between us, I do look up to you, and so I just want to affirm you and just tell you like you're so dope.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to exist in the same time as you and to live in Kenya at the same time as you and to be Kenyan like you, and yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Hey man, leo nimezishikilia. I was like not again. Watanienjoy tena.
And your skin is popping.
Thank you. Maji.
Damn.
Enye ni wangu hata si maji. La Roche.
Asante.
Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.